A world deficient in yin has no idea how to cultivate it. Often our attempts are laced with yang and only contribute to more deficiency. This is common with martial artists who are attracted only to the yang aspect of the craft. Anyone who is over-disciplined in any craft will have a rigid mind. This rigid mind often has trouble flowing in conversations and listening deeply to the other person without the yang habit of waiting for their turn to speak, usually about oneself. You feel this distinct tension in this kind of person, not so much in their posture but in their eyes and speech. There is a distinct stiffness in their words that results from being too disciplined. This overuses the analytical mind. This mind is stiff. Even the positivity of such people has a stench of fakeness to it. For example, when an over-disciplined, rigid mind speaks, the individual often displays an attitude implying that she is cool with everything, even though the other person can sense that she is pretending. It is the analytical intellect assuming that if we practice some form of spiritual cultivation, then we should be good and moral people who are incapable of harming an ant. We should essentially be goody two-shoes. This is an incorrect perspective because, again, we are dissecting the world into parts that are exclusively good and bad rather than following the natural inclusivity of nature. We are often possessed with the idea of who I should be rather than who I am. We over-discipline ourselves to attain who we should be, but this idea is based on social beliefs. To try and reach this destination is an endless journey to nowhere because it is driven by the yang of the external world. We cannot be actively doing in the hope that we will become better people. In fact, we deplete our system with this attitude, which in turn contributes to the destruction of the world. Cultivating yin requires us to refrain from our yang tendency to always act and to overstimulate our organism. As with my chocolate milkshake, nature resides predominantly in yin. Physically and psychologically we do as well, because we are intrinsic expressions of nature. We need to learn how to truly relax, and I don't mean sitting in front of a digital device with popcorn, which in actual fact is not resting your mind. Over-discipline and overwork puts us at risk of system failure, which presents itself as a host of mental health issues, stress, and anxiety. As I've mentioned, being in the non-doing wu-wei of yin actually preserves intellectual life. Essayist and cartoonist Tim Kreider explains how this insight made him better at his job. Idleness is not just a vacation, an indulgence, or a vice. It is as indispensable to the brain as vitamin D is to the body, and deprived of it, we suffer a mental affliction as disfiguring as rickets. It is paradoxically necessary to getting any work done. Drastic times call for drastic measures, and the best method for cultivating yin is drastic, but essential for our well-being. It involves fasting the mind, which I explore in depth in my book, Fasting the Mind. Essentially, it is a practice for starving the mind of any stimulation, external or internal. Methods of fasting the mind are common in the East. Two methods are found in Buddhism. They are known as vipassana and open awareness meditation. Vipassana meditation means insight into one's true nature. One form of practice is a strict 10-day silent retreat, which involves complete silence, many hours of sitting meditation, and a vegetarian diet for the entire period. Vipassana meditation often advocates focusing on the sensations within our psychosomatic organism, which takes our awareness deeper and has the potential to purify the mind. Open awareness, on the other hand, is an objectless meditation in which we engage with a simple, stable posture while trying to empty the mind through focusing on the breath or by fixing the attention on something in the environment. Advaita Vedanta, a science, philosophy, and spiritual practice originating in the Upanishads and the Vedas, offers a method of fasting the mind whereby we remain in a practice of self-inquiry by focusing on the question, who am I? All three methods have a positive effect on mental concentration, reaction time, motor skills, and sensory sensitivity. Fasting the mind, though, involves more than just these three methods. It is a lifestyle that transforms life from yang dominant to yin dominant. This approach is nothing new. The phrase fasting the mind is first found in the Zhuangzi text, though its practice is much older. It appears in a story about how to change a corrupt ruler. In this story, Confucius is the mouthpiece of Zhuangzi. He has a disciple named Yunwei. Yan Wei has heard of a ruler in the Chinese state of Wei who is treating the common people very poorly. Wei has numerous plans to change the ruler, but all of them are shot down by Confucius on the grounds that Yan Wei is intentionally trying to change the ruler according to his own will. In the end, Confucius has had enough and tells Yan Wei that he should fast his mind. Confucius said, "Goodness, how could that do? You have too many policies and plans and you haven't seen what is needed. You will probably get off with incurring any blame, yes, but that will be as far as it goes. How do you think you can actually convert him? You are still making the mind your teacher." Yan Wei said, "I have nothing more to offer. May I ask the proper way?" "You must fast," said Confucius. "I will tell you what that means. Do you think it is easy to do anything while you have a mind? If you do, bright heaven will not sanction you." Yan Wei said, "My family is poor. I haven't drunk wine or eaten any strong foods for several months. So can I be considered as having fasted? That is the fasting one does before a sacrifice, not the fasting of the mind. May I ask what the fasting of the mind is?" Confucius said, "Make your will one. Don't listen with your ears, listen with your mind. No, don't listen with your mind, but listen with your spirit. Listening stops with the ears, the mind stops with recognition, but spirit is empty and waits on all things. The way gathers in emptiness alone. Emptiness is the fasting of the mind." Yan Wei said, "Before I heard this, I was certain that I was Wei. But now that I have heard it, there is no more Wei. Can this be called emptiness?" "That's all there is to it," said Confucius. "Now I would tell you, you may go and play in his birdcage, but never be moved by fame. If he listens, then sing. If not, keep still. Have no gate, no opening, but make oneness your house, and live with what cannot be avoided. Then you will be close to success." Fasting the mind thus cultivates yin to bring about lasting balance. It requires us to starve the mind of all external and internal distractions. When we do so, we begin to affect the mind and the body at the deep level of the nervous system. There is essentially a war going on in our nervous system from the overuse of yang doing at the expense of yin non-doing. The nervous system is the part of an animal's body that coordinates its voluntary and involuntary actions and also transmits signals to and from different parts of its body. In vertebrate species, such as human beings, the nervous system contains two parts: the central nervous system, CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, PNS. The central nervous system contains the brain and spinal cord, while the peripheral nervous system consists of mainly nerves, which are enclosed bundles of long fibers, and axons, which are long, slender projections of nerve cells that conduct electrical impulses away from the neuron cell body. These nerves and axons connect the CNS to every other part of the body. The PNS is in turn divided into the somatic nervous system, SONS, and the autonomic nervous system, ANS. The ANS is our central focus when we are doing psychological or spiritual inner work and transformation. It is a control system that largely acts unconsciously and regulates bodily functions such as heart rate, respiratory rate, digestion, pupillary response, urination, and sexual arousal. The ANS in turn has two branches: the sympathetic nervous system, SNS, and the parasympathetic nervous system, PSNS. The SNS is sometimes considered the fight or flight system because in emergencies it is activated to mobilize energy. It is what is activated when we are in motion and are being stimulated through our senses. Without it, we could not do anything. The PSNS, on the other hand, is activated when we are in a relaxed state. We activate it when we essentially do nothing. The PSNS is also responsible for stimulation of rest and digest and feed and breed activities that occur when the body is at rest, especially after eating, including sexual arousal, lacrimation, tears, salivation, urination, digestion, and defecation. The PSNS is what makes us drift off to sleep every night. It is stimulated most when we relax deeply. The war in our nervous system is essentially the overstimulation of the SNS along with an understimulation of the PSNS. When we stimulate only the former without activating the latter, we increase the probability of chemical imbalances in our brain. Cultivating yin activates the PSNS, leading to equanimity. Fasting the mind, then, not only transforms and heals the individual, but also our culture. Cultivating the cool of yin in the mind and body reduces the yang heat of our world piece by piece. It is not an overnight phenomenon, but rather a gradual process. You realize how addicted you are to distraction, and you understand that it will take time to heal it through fasting the mind. It is the same long and arduous process for the collective. Cultivating yin and fasting the mind are both essential for understanding the effortless mind of Wu Wei, which is enlightened consciousness. Yin cultivation methods affect our nervous system at the root level. In cultivating yin, we diminish the yang effects of intellectual discernment, thinking, and active doing. Diminishing yang affects and also weakens the sense of I as a separate person.